Excellent connection. It's so funny.
Howdy, everybody. We are here live at the portal on a very busy Friday night. Larry was just commenting how our chairs are gone. So we're standing. Well, we weren't here. There's only a handful back here. So we are here to finish up Hoplomachus Victorum. We are fighting against Itzam Cab Ain. I'll go to this for us here, Larry. So this is the final villain of our campaign story. Yeah. What do you think you'd call this? Kind of both? We are at the end. We have done our 4 acts. We kind of went quickly through the other one there. And we think this villain's actually going to be kind of easy for us.
Well, in all fairness, we did play test a run through and kill him
right,
on
and we
turn
were like,
2.
we killed him on turn 2. So we'll kind of talk through that and some of the other ones.
We're making him harder, too.
Scion. Now I'm saying villain when we've been saying Scion the whole game. So, yeah, we'll play him with a little bit harder mode to see how all that goes. And then we'll kind of give a final wrap-up review. I mean, we played this game. We streamed this game for something like 8 hours. We love it. No spoilers there, but we'll try to talk through some of the things if you're trying to make a decision. Because actually, I just found out that Chip Theory is going to retail.
Oh, that's
we just
awesome.
found that out today. So here I was thinking, we're kind of covering.
It's always been the tough thing with Chip Theory. You got to catch them at a convention.
Yeah, well, you can order through their website.
But you got to know about it.
Yeah,
right?
but it's cool that it'll be in retail, so maybe you have a local store to you or whatever it is, or another way to order. So, all right. So here we go with the final Scion fight against Itzam Cab Ain. So we are here in Vesuvius, so we're going to play on this mat. Here is Itzam Cab Ain. It's kind of a crocodile. This is going to tell you how to set it up. So we can use all of our people. We've got, 8 people here. We leveled up, what were we at? 8 health, and now we're at 10 or something like that?
Yep.
We got a special tactic right at the end of the other one. Worked our way through. So we have 4 blessings remaining on our sheet. So what you actually do is remove the Banes from the bag, and each blessing removes a Bane. But this silly card here, Flip the Script, allowed us to bypass a bunch and only get 1 Bane in Act 4. So we didn't really end up with a lot of Banes. So technically, these Banes go away, and so Cab Ain is supposed to gain blue dice for each Bane that you have. But since we have none, he'll have no blue dice, which gives him no defense, really. Right. So we're going to play it with the defensive dice. We're going to give him the 3 instead. See if that
makes it a little harder.
Because we think the easy mode or the lowest mode, the chosen mode, ended up towards the end. Act 3, it was really tough.
For a little while.
Right? Act 1 was a little tough in the beginning. 2 was easier. 3 was tough in the beginning. And then 4 was easier.
The reason 3 was hard, too, was that zone we were in where they could move faster, get to the top of the hill,
yeah.
Right? So it just was, but I think tactically we were in a good place with the units we had, what we were doing. Having a ranged unit was very helpful for what we were doing, so,
So he's going to roll these dice on his turn, and it's going to tell him what he does, but he comes in dazed. In addition, what's going to happen is these blue dice, every time he rolls a hit, he gets a scale, and those scales are going to block damage. So if he ends up with 2 scales, the first 2 damage is blocked.
Yep.
Or every attack, 2 damage is blocked.
Nope.
So he only has 6 health. It's just the first 2?
As soon as it's just straight hit point defense.
Gotcha. So it just gives him some extra HP, but it's not going to be too much because our character is pretty buffed out. So, all right, so he comes in, he's dazed. So then we are going to come in with our character in the Vesuvian region. We take a damage when we come into play. And then we're going to use our special ability, what is it called? Not quick draw. What's the one that lets us? Longbow.
Longbow to take a damage.
And we have first strike. So we'll do this so we get to roll our attack as soon as we come in. So we're going to deal 4 damage to him.
Yep.
Or we're going to deal 4 dice of damage, and that's 4. So he's already down.
To 3.
So then on his turn, he's going to roll all these.
Yep.
All right. So the blue are going to make scales. So he's got 3 scales. The greens are going to be attacks if he's next to us, otherwise he's going to heal. And the black is going to be boom. How did I miss 2 of the blacks?
I don't know.
So each of these is going to have him move. So I'm going to roll the black die.
They're going to move twice.
6. Each one moves him 2 spaces?
Yep. Each hit rolls 2 dice.
Rolls twice, okay. And then 1, he's going to go north.
No, one was right. Oh,
He can't
I
go
looked
north?
at it differently, yeah.
Yeah, I'd almost do like a bounce off, like, oh, he can't go that way, so he goes this way, just to make it faster to roll.
Clockwise, yeah.
Yeah,
So he goes
one
down.
of those two. So he's going to end up here. Then he would attack us.
But he's not in range, so
he's going to heal 3. And I actually rolled 3 hits on that, so that's going to make that a little trickier for us. So now we're going to bring in a new unit, and we're going to bring in one of these.
Yep, which will gain a health.
Yep, so these ones, because they're from this region, they gain a health when they come in. Has tactical and has...
So we're going to put him here.
Yep.
And we're going to move here.
Yep.
And then he's going to use his ability to...
Yep, allow him to attack, so a blue and a green. 1
so
damage.
He's down to 1.
Oh, 2, sorry.
So he's down to 1 scale. Then he's going to attack again.
And then he gets his regular attack.
So his last
1.
scale's gone.
And then we're going to use our attack.
Yep. And we hit him 4 times.
1, 2, 3, 4. So he's down to 1 health.
Now it's back to him.
And then back to him. So he's going to roll these dice. All right.
2 scales.
So he's going to get 2 scales here. And then he's going to move 3 times.
So 6 times. And this is where you got to read where he'll do 2 damage if he lands on somebody. And moves
4. He goes here. 5.
The 5 had a
4. He comes down here. So that's 1 die, right?
Yep.
Then he's going to move 2, which will be here. So he
2
flings
damage.
this guy. He takes 2 damage, and he flings him to the farthest spot. So this is 3 away, and this is 3 away. So we'll up here, and that's another die, and then he's got 2 more movement. 3.
There's here.
So he won't hit us, and 6 goes back where he came from.
Yeah, but now he's got green dice.
So he's
he
going to
can
attack
heal
us
or-
twice.
We kept saying but the reality is on easy mode, we
That's true.
died 4
So
times.
if we only had 4 blessings, we would have been dead and not even gotten to that final fight.
Right? Like if we had
Yeah.
3, right? So I think that's where it's interesting that it was easy, but we died 4 times.
Yeah. Right.
So-
And so the lower level of difficulty, I think you only get 4 blessings. Which is interesting to play on the mode where you get 1 blessing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like play with no blessings.
Yeah.
Good luck, right? Like see how it goes. You're going to go into a fight with 7
4
or-
blessings, start with 1 blessing.
and
Fearless,
3
and 3 Scion Influence.
See, that's
Yeah.
the next mode I'm going to play.
Right. The question is, might be the can you get through Act 1?
Right.
Then can you get through Act 2? Right. It's less about can you get to the final boss.
and then having played the game a little bit, you start to realize like there's some maps I don't love. I don't want to fight certain things in Vesuvius, right? I might choose to try to go my quickest way through Vesuvius because of losing, health. And then what was the other one here?
The Limosians.
That's where
the
they had
hill.
that. Yeah, see,
Yeah,
that's
incredible.
another one I would avoid
Right.
if I was worried about.
And you might have a different character that has a lot of movement and could get up there and do something.
But then
or
even the Atlanteans, I would want to make sure I had a character that could
just high health.
and go grab the trident and hold it
Yeah.
so that the trident's not getting thrown at me, so. No, it's
Yeah,
this game's
so
phenomenal.
you were talking about these maps and all this. I mean, this is where the game is at. It's not actually each tactical fight. Those are fun, but I was telling people when we were off camera here with people, I was telling people like some of the tactical fights feel like you solved it.
Right.
And they're stuck, right? There was one where the beast went and attacked the enemies and just pinned them down. We didn't have
Well,
to
how
do
about
anything.
the one we wanted to complete our mission and get in their zone?
Right.
We let them chase our hero out here. We pushed our people in.
Right, so
then
you're
we
kind of
killed them.
gaming the system, but that's part of your tactics, right? And then there were others where it was like, my goodness, we can't do this. We need to just let stuff die and kill them as fast as possible and just trade blows, right? We can't do this where we kind of control the battle.
Because sometimes the
But these
text on the
cards are what make
card-
it so interesting.
And if a Bane comes out too, which happened to us once, right? And the map rules plus the card plus the Bane, there was a couple times in Act 3 where it was like, we're going to lose people. And I think the worst we did was we lost 2 units in a blood battle, and I think our hero had to use a blessing.
Right.
Right? We still won, but
Yeah.
that was the worst.
But what
we
I
had.
what I was going to say is that the fact that you can see these and you know what the next one is, which makes sense, right? It's not like because drawing these at random would be like, oh my gosh.
Well,
But
the
you're
great
basically
thing is-
traveling to the town and you know, oh, if we go here, this is the challenge they're putting up.
And you could decide, like, hey, you know what? I don't want that. Let's
Right.
rest before we get to it and
remove it.
and stack it. Or when we get there, let's rest.
Yeah, it's great. Like that part of it, you have so much control, so you know what you're getting into that you can work through it. And then the fact that every time you complete one of these, you get a bonus. You get a character, you get tactics, you get a die roll increase, you get health. Like there's something you can get. And then these prowess cards are what make all the heroes different, right? That's the part where you're playing into that. Now, this made us a little OP, and this card really got us out and going.
Explorer was awesome.
And this card was ridiculous for
these
finishing
two
out.
together just made life so easy
Yeah,
for us.
so that was huge. The in-battle ones were good, but they were more just something in our pocket.
Well,
right, that we
later
could do.
game, the ranged impel was just awesome.
Yeah. This combined with the fact that when we had a bunch of health, we could just take a damage with longbow to fire.
This wasn't as... I mean, first strike is great, right?
First
But
strike was key, yeah. The long shot wasn't a big deal, but the first strike was huge.
what I would say, though, the one... If I was to give this game a negative, and maybe it was just in the easy play, and it wouldn't happen in the future plays, was I felt like by the last two acts, I no longer cared about the green cards.
Yeah.
The challenges.
They
'cause
were
we
hard
did
to
so
know that you
many-
could do them, and
we-
the bonuses, right, we
We
had
did so many in Act 1 and 2 that there was just nothing left to really get from
But
them.
a little part of the easier mode, because we started with 3 of these, although starting with 2 or 1, you'd still end up with 8 of the 10.
Right, but it would have been harder maybe to get
Yeah.
them. So,
But they definitely gave you something to go for in those battles where you kind of knew you were going to win. It was like, oh, now can we do this in this one, right? The lineups changing, the rules changing in these was so interesting. The tactics chips on them. It became very easy. And like people were looking at it and they're like, boy, that's got to be a heavy game. It's like, it's so intuitive. When in doubt, just do the thing that makes most sense. There was a little bit in terms of what order do the enemies move. We never really...
right.
So sometimes
I'd
we
say
moved it in
half
our
the time we
favor.
did it in our
Sometimes we
favor,
moved it
half the
against
time
us.
we did it against us,
We weren't always
but-
good. We got tired at times. But it was phenomenal. It's probably not 8 hours. It's probably 10. Maybe if we're not talking to a camera and to each other. But I would make worse decisions without you here. I would definitely roll worse.
I mean, my thing is, we made it longer in the first 2.5,
That's
3
true.
acts with Explorer
By
rolling
rolling
sixes
sixes.
and, like, taking all 12 weeks, right? Like, or months. We literally probably...
These two we didn't take all 12. We
right,
just went.
we could
we
have
just got
probably
to the
done like
chase.
7 or something.
Yeah.
It's still been okay. But again, that was because it was easy mode.
Right.
So hard mode might be an 8 to 10 hour adventure. But again, every time you rest, you speed up the game. So if you have to rest more because the game's hard, maybe the game goes quicker.
Yeah.
The
Bane that comes with the enemy, there's only one. And there's all these Banes, which is cool, but it didn't feel like this enemy was significantly changing our play. And right, it wasn't until we get to the end of the game. I mean, this was an ability where everybody heals, but there wasn't a bunch of Banes that were doing that. I don't know if there's other
And we
characters
cheated
that
that
do that.
once too.
We got rid of it one time?
Well, remember we
Oh, yeah,
got
we didn't know
everybody
if they
to
could
one.
go above their
Well,
health
we got
total.
everyone to 1 health.
And then
did
took
the
them all in one
multi-shot.
shot.
Right.
Right.
So,
And those could have been some rules that we got incorrect. You're going to have to make those calls in games that are of this style, right?
Yeah, well, anytime you're playing cooperative or solo game, you decide how hard you want to make it, and if something makes sense thematically, and like, hey, this makes sense. Like they're healing each other, so let's get them low, and then blow them all up at once. Made sense, right? It felt right, even if somewhere we find out that's not allowed. It just made sense with what we were doing, and it felt okay.
I don't think quality is anything we even really need to. It's through the roof.
It's A++.
Right. I mean, there are heavier metal dice if you want them. These are fine. They're probably easier to see. I don't know. They were fun to roll the metal dice when we rolled them.
Nice,
but I could live without
Component
them.
quality
The
is
chips are so
great.
cool. It's such a great way to not do miniatures or standies, and to give you something that still
and
feels
these
quality.
thicker chips to know that these are the elite units.
Yeah, that was
is
super
great,
smart.
you know.
And these were, again, the storage was so great to be able to just, where's the arena? I mean, even when I was digging through 10 of these, it's not that big a deal like having a stack of things in a box you have to look
The other thing I liked is these yellow tactics. When you earn them, you could spend them, they go back there.
Yeah, so you can get them back.
Take them again, which
so we had this one.
all of a sudden, because at first I was like, man, there's only like 4 different tactics. That's kind of not a lot to choose from. But the reality is there's a lot of different tactics if you earn them through the game, which is kind of cool. So that was another piece, which I didn't even realize till midway through the game that these were other tactics chips. So, no, this game's solid. Yeah. I really like it.
No, it jumped up. I mean, yesterday I made a list. I did a live list of my top solo games, and I bounced this one way up on the list. Like, it's been so much, and I'd never played it solo. But I mean, it's intended to be solo.
I wonder if you played it solo, if it would go lower on your list because you might
roll so poorly. Yeah. I probably wouldn't jump to the hardest difficulty on my next play. I'd probably jump to that second difficulty for me to see. I feel like having one blessing would be like, you're pretty hosed, especially you get a character that runs in there. But yeah, I mean, look at all this variety and all these different characters, the different endgame enemies. I mean, it's going to be hard to know, but a solo game is going to be easier